Some people can remember a face after seeing it once. Others can remember entire conversations from years ago, but ask them for someone's name 5 seconds after an introduction, and suddenly their brain goes completely blank. You know the moment. You're standing there smiling at someone you've definitely met before, maybe twice, maybe more. And while they're talking to you like an old acquaintance, your mind is running a full-scale emergency operation trying to recover one missing detail, their name. So you stall. You avoid saying their name entirely. You pray someone nearby says it out loud before you have to. And for a few painful seconds, social interaction becomes survival theater. Most people assume this happens because someone is careless, distracted, or simply bad with memory. But psychology suggests something far more interesting. People who constantly forget names are often not inattentive at all. In many cases, their brains are processing too much at once. Because when you meet someone new, your mind is already overloaded before their name even arrives. Your brain is reading facial expressions, analyzing tone, judging whether the interaction feels safe, awkward, genuine, or forced, thinking about how you sound, wondering what to say next, trying not to appear uncomfortable. And right in the middle of all that mental activity, someone introduces themselves with a completely unfamiliar word. Hi, I'm Daniel. And your brain treats that word like loose paper in a hurricane. Not because names are unimportant, but because names are strangely difficult for the human brain to store. There's actually a famous psychological explanation for this. In the late 1980s, researchers discovered something now called the Baker-Baker paradox. Participants were shown the exact same person. One group was told the man was a baker by profession. The other group was told his last name was Baker. Days later, people remembered the occupation far more easily than the surname. Why? Because baker as a profession instantly activates meaning. Bread, flour, aprons, early mornings, ovens. Your brain can connect it to existing mental associations immediately. But as a name, baker becomes abstract, detached from meaning, and human memory depends heavily on connection. Your brain constantly decides what deserves storage space. Emotion gets prioritized. Patterns get prioritized. Meaning survives. Random labels often don't. That's why you might remember somebody's laugh, their energy, or the strange story they told you, while forgetting the actual word attached to them. But for many chronic name forgetters, there's another hidden layer underneath all of this: self-consciousness. A surprising number of people who struggle with names are deeply trapped inside their own thoughts during conversations, not out of arrogance, out of hyper-awareness. While someone is speaking, part of their mind is quietly asking, am I acting weird? Did I interrupt too early? Am I making enough eye contact? Do they like me? Psychologists have studied this too. There's something called the next in line effect. Researchers found that people waiting for their turn to speak remembered dramatically less of what had just been said to them, because mentally they had already left the conversation. They were rehearsing, editing themselves, preparing, and socially anxious people often exist in that state constantly, half listening, half managing themselves. So when a new name appears, it never receives full attention in the first place. The brain hears it, but never properly encodes it, which means forgetting names is not always a memory problem. Sometimes it's an attention conflict, and that distinction matters, because many people quietly feel ashamed of this. They assume forgetting somebody's name means they didn't value the person enough. But memory doesn't work like a recording device. It works more like selective storytelling. Your mind keeps fragments, emotion, atmosphere, psychological weight. It filters aggressively. Think about important moments from your own life. You probably remember the feeling of certain rooms, specific expressions on people's faces, the tension in someone's voice, the emotional atmosphere, but not every tiny factual detail surrounding it. Because memory was never designed to preserve everything equally. It preserves what feels psychologically meaningful. And ironically, people who forget names often remember other things exceptionally well. Subtle reactions, emotional shifts, the exact way someone looked after hearing difficult news, the tone of a conversation from years ago. Their minds absorb texture more than labels. And honestly, that kind of memory can make someone unusually perceptive, good at reading people, good at sensing emotional nuance, even if they're terrible at remembering introductions. Of course, that there are ways to improve this. Repeating someone's name immediately helps. Associating it with an image helps. Building connections manually helps because you're giving the brain what it naturally wants: meaning. But the idea that forgetting names makes you cold, rude, or uninterested, that's often completely false. Sometimes your mind was simply busy processing everything else: the emotional atmosphere, the pressure of the interaction, the invisible social calculations happening underneath the surface. And maybe that's worth remembering too. Because in the end, a name is only one tiny fragment of a person. The deeper memory is usually something else entirely: the feeling they carried, the emotional imprint they left behind, the way your nervous system experienced them. That's the part your brain decided to keep. And maybe that was the important part all along.